So
7:30 and we'd like to start the meeting. So if you guys will all grab your food, sit down,
shout
grab your
out.
drinks.
That's a good picture there. Movie producer.
With the agenda, yes, love? I think so, yeah. Has the order guy not come? Has the staff member not come through? Let's see if hey, would you see if a staff member's going to come through and take their order, or if folks need to? Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks, everybody. So I left the sign-in sheet. Hi. I don't think I mentioned folks. I'm Terry. Nice to meet you. I left the sign-in sheet for you folks right there. If you're new, we can put you on the sign-in list and get you on the list for events and that kind of thing, the emails and the newsletters that come through. So that's what that sign-in sheet is. If you want to pass that. Thank you. What else? I just wanted to start really quick. We haven't been here in 2 years. It's been a little bit over 2 years, and a lot of things have happened. And we have some VIP folks, some longtime ASA activists, longtime ASA members here in the room, and we've also lost loudmouth blonde for one here.
Yeah.
That's Kathy. Sitting next to Linda, the hospitable, lovely Linda. And our longtime Canna couple here, Marcy and Scott and Heather and her husband are here. Ken, we have Neil, lots of newcomers too. Wayne, thank you all for being here. It's so important that you're day after day, or month after month, you come to the ASA meetings, and really, you are ASA in San Diego. So thank you for coming. I also want to thank newcomers too, all of you. I like to try to meet everybody in the room, and I noticed I haven't met you folks either. So I'm Terry. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you. My name is Terri Best. I'm the chapter chair of the chapter, and we've got maybe 8, 9 board members. Linda's one here. Neil, and we also lost our founder, Dion Margraf, over COVID years. I think it was in 2020 that we lost Dion, and so he was, a longtime activist, very supportive. Part of what ASA does, I think, is activate others to the cause. We don't necessarily want everything to happen under our auspices or our control. We just want other people to go and get out and do what they want to do in terms of cannabis advocacy and activism, and start groups, start hotlines, go into parole offices and tell parolees that they can vote. People don't know that. There's all kinds of all kinds of ways that ASA has activated people over the years. And that is because of all of you, because you keep coming back. So thank you so much. It's been, like I said, 2 years. I'm a little rusty at this, but I do want to lay out that thank you very clearly and concisely about how much it means to me and the rest of the chapter that you keep coming back, month after month, year after year. Okay, I'm going to drag a chair. I want to show you. Do you remember when we had these meetings in Bay? Remember Bay used to come up here and talk to you about the newsletter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they all went after you on the on the table. Well, I was gonna do that, and then I noticed that there was no newsletter for August. And also, there's not a real easy way to print them anymore. I guess we're going paperless. So I wanted to show you here on ASA's website. This is Americans for Safe Access. You see up here Safe Access Now. And if you just go into the search and search on newsletter, you will be able to read the newsletter. It also will come into your email if you come down here and sign up. Get our newsletter, just put your email right in there. But the newsletter is the latest and greatest legislation that came out of the feds. It's Senate driven. It's the best one yet. We love it. We hope it passes. But do read about that if you can. That's very easy to find too by going to Safe Access Now and putting in CAOA's initials here. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that ASA is 20 years old. And this chapter is 20 years old too, because it started right around the time that Oakland did. It was founded, like I said, by Dion Margraf. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
So I wanted to just kind of give you a little bit of a history of how ASA started, because we're such a grown-up organization now. But we didn't used to be. It started off, the woman that started it and man were just pissed off because the FBI or the DEA was raiding collectives in Oakland, and she was here to get medicine. Her name is Steph Shear, and she had been hurt in a protest, an anti-war protest. She moved to California to get medicine because she couldn't use ibuprofen and that kind of thing anymore. So she came here, moved to Oakland, San Francisco, where all her friends were, and they started raiding the collective. Every time she'd find a collective where she could get medicine, they would raid it. So she started ASA as like a 6-week campaign in Oakland, because she had experience with being a rabble-rouser, being anti-war. She had a little bit of a revolutionary in her. And so she knew how to get organized and try. She thought that she would just do a national campaign and the raids would be over, because we had just voted, overwhelmingly that we could use cannabis medicine. So ASA, long story short, turned into, from a raid response and know your rights and court support kind of organization, into one that's actually in Washington right now, hammering out policy, linking with folks like Nurse Heather and Ken to hammer out policy for patients, and all the way into doing research too. Doing research in the Czech Republic, where cannabis, it's easier to get cannabis for research. So we grew up from just an activist with a bullhorn and a bunch of flyers in the trunk of her car to a research and a very well-respected cannabis facility over just 20 years. And why I say this is because it's because of you that this happened. It was because the power of cannabis patients uniting and giving us that power and that oomph to go. I'm telling you, the first time I had to put a bullhorn to my lips at a raid, I was scared shitless. There were cops behind a fence banging into somebody's safe, and I was yelling through a bullhorn at them. But I did it anyway. You know why? Because I knew I had people behind me, and I knew that if I called people, they would come help me.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a team. And the court support. You, all of you. I've seen all of you in court support at one time or another, helping patients when they're criminally charged. Beat those charges just through your warm bodies in seats to let the juries know somebody's paying attention and this is not right. And then from that into City Hall and civic engagement. And that is another time your voice shakes. Your voice shakes when you get to that podium to talk to your city council. It's gonna happen when you do it for the first time, it shakes. But you know what? We all did it anyway. And you all made it easier for me to do it because you were behind me, flicking your fingers, snapping, saying, yes, that's true, giving me support, and clapping after, we finish. All of you have had that support and have given that support. And that's why 20 years got us this far, because of this support. And I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank you enough.
That's right. 20 years down.
What's that?
It gets easier with practice.
What, the bullhorn?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. I love it now. Now I love it. I'm so, it's an art, really. You can't yell. You can't yell into a bullhorn. You can't be mean. You can't be, nasty. You have to actually heckle. you know, in order to get your point across. Heckle like, hey, did you learn beating that safe in with a crowbar in cop school? That kind of heckling as they're beating the safe in, you know, that's the kind of thing. Because if you're screaming and yelling, it's bad for the cause and they don't listen. I mean, there's like fine arts that we learn along the way. But I have to tell you, it was effective because we all showed up at raids, and it made the law that when you talk to the cops and say, hey, you're stealing people's medicine and this isn't right, the cops feel less like heroes and they want you there less. And so they don't put out press releases, they don't get cameras, you know, to come and speak to them about how they just, you know, bashed into this illegal cannabis dispensary. They don't do that anymore. They hide when we come now. And so we were able to push back law enforcement. We were able to take that kind of proud law enforcement, you know, DEA machoism that they were exhibiting and make them hide and not want the cameras there anymore. Because we had our folks, we had our attorneys, we had our activists there saying this is wrong, this is people's medicine that you're stealing. And so we pushed back law enforcement, and then in the courts, guess what? The last case that I knew about was on a Friday. I think it was John Missoula's case. It was on a Friday. The jury left at 4 o'clock to go, you know, deliberate. They took their first vote at 4:20, all not guilty. And so they called the judge. I was on the freeway, rolling home back to Golden Hill, you know, and they called and said, hey, the jury, you know, came to a conclusion in 20 minutes, come back. We're like, oh my God, this is really scary, because, you know, I mean, like, you just never know in El Cajon. You just never know. So we hot foot back to El Cajon court, and it was not guilty. That it was a 20-minute verdict. And then we got another one in where was that? Oceanside. Is that where it is? It's Carlsbad or Oceanside where the downtown court is. Vista Court, thank you, yes. Another one in Vista, that was Sean Smith. But 10-minute guilty verdicts, I mean not guilty verdicts, 10 minutes it takes a jury now to deliberate on cannabis. 10 minutes. So they stopped charging, and then Prop 16 passed, and now they really can't charge. But you know, so we pushed back the cops. We pushed back on the court support folks. They all, Bonnie and, you know, Summer stopped because it was too embarrassing for these 10-minute non-guilty verdicts that were happening. And we also have revisited cannabis as a right here in both municipalities, in San Diego City and in San Diego County. We're working on what's called social equity, but what we're doing is we're making sure that the people that were in marginalized neighborhoods that were left out not only of safe access in their neighborhoods in a convenient way, but also being the proprietors and owners of cannabis businesses. People, Black, Indigenous, people of color, BIPOC folks, hardly have a showing in cannabis right now. So the city and county have both engaged in grant money from the state, on the state level, to try to right that wrong, and they're both in dialogue, and it's been pretty freaking cool to watch. So that's going to kind of segue into what I've been doing for the last 2 years when I haven't been at these meetings. Let me just catch up with my notes. So right now, currently, the city of San Diego and the county board of supervisors are doing the first part of what they're calling their social equity program. Now, social equity is focused on how much we have harmed people by the drug war, in particular certain neighbors in certain races, or certain neighborhoods and races, and how unfair it is that they are economically left out of the cannabis market. That's the mantra that's going on for social equity. But we have to, as a patient group, take it back, and all the way back to 2010, when all of us in this room, you know, most of us were hoping that city council would regulate, and the county board of supervisors would regulate. And when they did, they put all of the cannabis outlets, the retail outlets that we were all expected to get our medicine, in the far-flung areas and not in the inner city where marginalized neighborhoods, low-income folks reside and BIPOC folks reside. So they got a double whammy. So they got no safe access, and the cops, you know, pummeled the crap out of their neighborhoods with the drug war for, you know, however many years, since, you know, the 70s. So when we got this ordinance back in 2010 in the city of San Diego, they were all kept out of the inner city, and I was, you know, frankly, you're just glad somebody's going to give you a right to exist, that you don't dwell or freak out about it not being perfect. You know that saying, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And you know, now we can exist. We actually have, for the first time in the history, have a right to exist. And so we went for it. We didn't fight hard enough for the inner city folks that were going to be left out of safe and convenient access. And that was a mistake. We should have fought harder. We got criticized for it too. A lot of people in the inner city criticized us. We lost members even because we were in favor of the ordinance, and people were like, this leaves all of us out. Everybody in North Park, everybody in Southeast, everybody in Golden Hill, you know, wide huge swaths of people, mostly black and brown people. So that, you know, that started to be something that the city actually wanted to pay attention to by, I think 2019 is around when that started happening. And San Diego ASA, because we wanted safe access in neighborhoods, you know, the economic part we've always kind of tried to stay out of because there were so few licenses and everybody fought over them, and ASA didn't want to be involved in that squabble, that local squabble of who was going to get these licenses. So we stayed out completely out of the economic part of it, but we just, you know, tried to get patients' rights in there. And we saw the social equity and the possibilities of getting safe access to these inner city areas and just went for it. And that's what I've been doing for this last 2 years, is sitting in on city meetings, organizing black and brown nonprofit groups that have a eye towards building entrepreneurship and that kind of thing, job readiness, wraparound services for jobs. And so we put together, ASA, along with the organization that I work with, Painting Great Futures, put together a 10-week cannabis class in 2019. So we did that, and a lot of you came and spoke at these events and participated. Some came and taught classes, you know, 10-week class. And then the city was ready to talk, so we formed committees and formed coalitions and got the churches involved, because that was one thing that, you know, I mean, churches always are going to oppose cannabis, but apparently, you know, the black and brown community, you know, much different interaction with their churches. So they were able to get their churches in on the side of social equity pretty easily because their church, you know, they go to church and their pastor didn't take long for this pastor to, you know, be swayed. And so it was kind of cool how it all happened. Then, you know, we got other people saying, we won't oppose you, you know, we can't support right now. And then they turned into support after a while. And it turned into kind of a, you know, a pretty cool effort, and it's working. It's the city just finished what they're calling their listening sessions. It's sessions that were set up in 8 different neighborhoods that had, you know, historically been over-policed by the drug war, or by, you know, because of the drug war. And the woman who runs the cannabis business bureau, or cannabis department for the city, the official cannabis bureaucrat of the city. Her name is Laura Gates. She's new. She took PJ Fitzgerald's place, So she's very down to earth, and she ran these listening sessions and got all the information. I mean, we had her. We organized for everybody to attend these things. I was only able to attend one, but Paving Great Futures folks were always there, and these. This bureaucrat that I never expected much from, she really listened. She listened to the fact that people that are incarcerated might, it might be a good idea to get first go round. Like somebody who's been incarcerated for a cannabis offense, let's give them the first licenses, and really like listened to the community, listened to us about smoking lounges, listened to us that. There's a big push to ban smoking cannabis in multi-tenant housing, which means all of us. I mean, I rent. Probably a lot of us rent, and your landlord can ban. And so she listened to us about that we would need smoking lounges, and that's why. She said that one of the listening sessions was was in Southeast somewhere. Near a park, and she saw some guys in the park with two big bags of weed. She went over, this bureaucrat mom, she's a mom, went over to the park and said, "Hey, I'm holding these seminars over here from the city. Why don't you come over here and see about learning how to do this legally?" I mean, like she actually rounded up some legacy, drug or cannabis distributors. I don't know if they grew it. I can't say that for sure. So she rounded those dudes up, and she brought them into her seminar, and she wanted to know, how do we get you into the legal market? Like, really, if you listen to these city council people, they never want, they want to punish. They're always talking about punishing the legacy or, unlicensed market. So this is a gal who who understands that that's us, man. I mean, like, that's all of us. We are the legacy market. We were left out. We all probably want to grow. I know many of you love to grow and maybe go sell it at a farmer's market, or help your friends, and have it's just obvious that you have to be a millionaire to grow weed now for commercial use, and that's not right. So the more bureaucrats that we have on our side that kind of know that, the better. And this one is on our side. I really think that we have a good chance of for sure getting 32 more collectives in the city. They're all going to be social equity. First round is probably going to be people who have done time for cannabis, and then there'll be more stuff as we phase in. And so that's huge. Huge.
Okay.